Well, I thought I'd make one up today, but first let's have a quick butchers at the materials. I've got my usual palette on this finger painting tray that I use there, just cheap bit of plastic, but it's very light so I can hold it throughout the painting. My fingers, my arms don't start to ache. But we've got ultramarine, lemon yellow, Payne's grey, alizarin crimson, raw sienna, burnt umber and light red. Underneath that I've got my towel, which I wipe the hake on to take the excess water off. This is the hake, large, 1 3/4 inches wide. So Ron Ranson one. It is, you can see I've actually cut the end off. That was just purely to get it in my bag, no other reason than that. Got a 3/4 inch flat, bog standard brush, and a number 3 rigger. Got a water jar with a nice lip on that takes the excess water off. Anything that's left in I'll just wipe on the towel. Always got some tissue to hand in case I want to take any paint off, lift any off the paper, which is 15 by 11 Fabriano Watercolour Paper. So I'm going to start by putting clear water all over the paper, just wetting it evenly, just so that it will stretch evenly and I won't be left with all crinkly bits. Also it lets the sky blend in nicely, so I don't get any hard edges. So I'm going to go with Payne's grey and ultramarine, and I want to try and create a sort of a light coming down the centre of the scene. So brushing it in, I'm just brushing it in from each side. A bit more paint. Brushing it in and then just leaving this light area down the middle. But you can see it has to be nice and wet, because otherwise that's how you get these nice soft edges. If you haven't wet it enough, it'll start to be going dry now. And you can tell as soon as it's going dry. Well, you can see like this little bit here, where you're getting the hard edges as opposed to the nice soft ones on the corner of on the edge of the light. So just going to continue. Take another load of paint, plenty of paint on the brush. And then obviously the darker you get this bit, the lighter that's going to appear. How's that looking? I might stay with that now. I think that's enough for that. So the next thing I'm going to do, same colours. And again, lots of paints. And now let's do a big mountain in the background. So something like that. And then while I got that paint on the brush, I'm just going to pull down the reflection. You see how it's starting to dry slightly there, because it's not quite as soft, but that doesn't matter. I'm just going to continue with that. I'll get that a bit darker. There's some kind of contrast. You see now, you can see the profile of that bit against the mountain behind it. What I might do now is introduce a bit of lemon yellow. Let's get a bit of green into the scene. You can see now there's a bit of grass growing on the side of that hill, and you can see the layers, the depth as it's going off into the distance. And obviously because the paper's still a bit wet, that needs to be a bit darker to make that show up. You see how now that profile that now shows up a lot better. And you can see the difference. This bit's still wet and it's diffusing nicely, whereas this bit's going dry now, so you get the hard edges. Now what I might do is a few trees. So a bit more water now, because I want this to come nicely off the brush. And I might start on this side. I'm just going to flick it up like that. so you get that nice little tree effect. Now, keeping an eye on that horizon line, I'm going to just bring the different reflections down. So obviously I want them as high above the horizon as it comes down low, to give a sort of true looking reflection. So just keeping an eye on that horizon line there, and then just, yeah, it doesn't have to be exact, as long as it's there or thereabouts. And it'll just give the impression of reflected trees in the water. See, so just need to keep an eye on that. Just keep an eye on your horizon line, and as high as that goes, that's how low you need to bring it, as long as it's there or thereabouts. And the beauty of doing it while the paper's still wet is you haven't got to re-wet it afterwards and then make sure you've got the exact colour as it is above, which can be a bit of a pain in the backside. But I'm just going to give that a quick dry. That'll do for that. Now you can see the paper stretched slightly. See how it's stretched up, and do that with it. Well, I don't want that, so I'm just going to pull it tight. Pull it tight and refix it on this right hand side. And we're ready to go again. So I'm going to put a few more trees in first. So I want a bit of water, so I want this sort of consistency, so it comes straight off the brush with no problems whatsoever. But not too much water. It should be, obviously I can always do that with my palette and there's not water splashing all over the place. Just enough to keep the brush well lubricated. And then with that, where shall I put them? Let's have another layer of trees in here, I think, maybe starting something like that. And then obviously a few reflections. Paper's dry now, but it doesn't matter. These are some smaller trees now in front of those. Just pull down those reflections. That'll do for that. And then on the left hand side now, give some big trees, a bit more water on the brush. Lemon yellow, Payne's grey. Pick where you want to start your trees off. I'm going to go about there, I think. And then just flicking it up like that. You see how I'm just doing that, just using like chopsticks. Just flicking it up and you get this nice tree effect. But you need plenty of water so that it comes off the brush nice and straightforward, nice and simple. So pulling down, again keeping an eye on the horizon line. So I'm going to pull down the reflections as low down as the trees are high. And then just going to leave little bits of white in there. That's about it. So they're the nice trees, sort of framing it either side. I think next I'll put a bit of land in. So I'm just going to stick with the same colours. In fact, I mean the only colours we've used are the Payne's grey, lemon yellow and ultramarine. But you can, I mean, just with three colours you can get some nice effects. So what I might do is just suggest a bit of land on this side, just to give it a quick sweep. So we'll just some little dips and dabs there, and just a quick sweep like that. Maybe flick up a few bits of grass. Don't forget the reflections. We can also maybe scrape in a few little rocks and pebbles. And just flick up to suggest a few grasses and reeds here and there. So that bit of land in the foregrounds helps with the depth a bit more. So again, before I carry on, I'm going to make sure it's dry so I don't put my hand in it and smudge it all over the place and make a right mess. That'll do. Now do I know it's dry? Because I can look at it along here. I've got the light shining on it like that, and it would shine if it was wet. So that's why I know I can go like that now. Obviously, make sure your hands are clean and dry. You can go like that. I know it's not going to smudge all over the place. That's why I can go in now with my hand like that and paint anything I want, and I'm not going to smudge it. So what I'm going to do now is switch to the 3/4 inch flat. I'm going to go into the same mix, but nice and dark. Just take a bit of everything. But basically you're just looking for something nice and dark. And I'm just going to put a little boat somewhere to give it a focal point, just add a bit of life to the thing. So where should we put our boat? If I put it somewhere about there, I'm just going to touch down. And then again just little dabs to suggest a reflection. Get a little reflection in. And then switch to the rigger. And just a little dot for his head. Little dot for his head, and then his little body. And then his arm coming out doing something over there. And then don't forget the reflection. Just copy what you've done, but do it upside down, little dot again for the head. And it just adds a little focal point to your painting. Always nice to have a few little birds flying around. Just nice and small. Maybe another one up there. And then down in this corner I'm going to put my signature, and I'm going to call this one finished. Thanks for watching. Keep practicing, and I'll see you again soon. In fact, just before I go, we'll just have a quick close-up of the paint, and you can see this is the finished composition. See our little man there in his boat, just adds a bit of life to the painting. And then see how I've kept an eye on that horizon line and just pulled down as low as the mountains and trees are high, and it just helps create sort of instant water without really trying too hard. It's a very simple scene, but creating this sort of light down the middle helps add a bit of interest along with all the other elements. Bit of foreground interest, quick scrape with the card, and you can see how it's very simple to create these rocks and bits of grasses. But again, try not to overdo it, as with most things. Generally left as subtle as you can. So now you've seen me try it, now have a go for yourself. It's not as difficult as you think.